Good morning and welcome. Happy Hump Day, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. Thank you for joining us today. It's a gorgeous day in the Valley of the Sun. And, of course, I guess we need to talk about it at least briefly. Did your person win? Of course, the election was yesterday. The Republicans gained a bigger majority, if you will, in the Senate. The Republicans gained control of the House. And I guess we're all left to deal with, well, is that a good thing, a bad thing? What type of thing is it exactly? I don't know. You know what? I'll say this. Obviously, it's not ideal, right? When we think about where we are right now, we would have much rather had all of the Republicans in control of both houses. They don't. We're going to bring back, all the people: Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters. I mean, they're all back now, and we're going to get all the committees. I love it. Now we're going to get Trump's taxes and all that, and I just sit there and I kind of laugh because I'm like, what do they really think? I mean, you think that on April 15th, Donald's going to Melania. Hey, Melania, bring all your receipts. Let's sit down and do our taxes. Obviously, they've hired the very best. I mean, let's face it, they're super rich people, the very best tax people in the world. And what are we going to find out? That he had a really good tax attorney? Right? Is that we're really going to find that out? Right? Oh, wait. He didn't give enough money to charity. And, of course, obviously most of us already know when you give money to all these charities, right, where does it go? Mostly to pay the people that work for the charities and very little to the actual charities themselves. But nonetheless, this is how it broke down. I was worried about Arizona, and, boy, it's as far as I know, and I haven't checked this second, so I do apologize for not knowing, but when I came into work this morning, it was still too close to call between Martha McSally and Christine Sinema. I hope it goes McSally's way. Obviously, with what happened yesterday, this is more of an Arizona thing now, right? Because the Senate is going to be Republican, the House is going to be Democrat. And for all of us, and I'll just say for us in general, it's just going to be tough. I mean, CNN was unwatchable before. Now it's really going to get painful as they're going to, like I said, the impeachments, all this stuff. They're going to be in charge. Like Maxine Waters is going to be in charge of the banking committee. This was a woman who 10, 12 years ago didn't even know our currency wasn't backed by gold anymore. And I don't want to get all politics, and my feelings about that. You get that somewhere else. Was it a win? I know that the Trump administration is like, hey, we won. Not really. Nobody wins. Nobody. And again, like I said yesterday, and I hate to be this way, but it really doesn't matter who we voted for. Because the real issues that are affecting this nation are not going to be solved because we elected a Democrat or a Republican. That let's face it, one way or another, just wants to be more of the same, right? They want to raise our taxes, or they want to. One group's raising taxes, the other one wants to spend money on socialist programs. The other group wants to spend it somewhere else. Everybody just wants to spend it. That's really the biggest problem. I know Colorado, and I guess it's very interesting here. They voted almost exclusively for the Democrats. Jason and I were talking this morning. We were kind of laughing because they voted for the Democrats, and yet they voted no on all the propositions for tax increases. And then yet they put in the Democrats who are going to raise their taxes. So I don't know. Everybody's confused. You'll have to figure it out. Go somewhere else. They'll give you all that stuff. But the thing that amazes me when we talk about what really matters in this country, if you turn on the mainstream media, they don't ever talk about it. Right? They don't want to talk about how we have this worthless piece of paper that essentially is nothing more than ink on a piece of paper. What's behind it? Nothing. Well, I guess the full faith and credit. Do any of you actually have faith in our political system? Do you really? Do you really have faith in the central bankers? When's the last time the central bank actually was right about anything? The next time they're right will be the first time. And it's been decades long. They have been attacking us for decades, a lot of times without us even knowing it, using the media as their weapon. We got a great little clip coming for you when we get back.
Last year, he started reading these funny magazines. Fortune, Business Week, U.S. News and World Report.
Oh, that's quite disturbing.
Oh, it made him crazy. I mean, the first thing he did was take out money out of his savings account. Do you know what he bought with all of this money?
Not offhand.
Gold coins, ingots, bars. I mean, he has them all heaped in a small little heaps all over this little room. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Interesting case.
No, not really. Just a husband gone a little bananas.
Actually, what he's doing, though it's bizarre, is conceptually valid.
Yeah.
Many economists are saying gold will be the only thing of real value after the international monetary collapse.
Say again?
When the world economy collapses in the next year or so. Worldwide hyperinflation, collapse of many foreign currencies, epidemic of corporate bankruptcies, the plummeting of the dollar. Anybody without any valued intrinsic assets is going to be in a pretty grim situation.
Oh, well, then, I'm not wholly unprepared for such eventualities. I just happen to be compiling a rather extensive investment portfolio.
Oh, what do you got?
Blue chip stocks, AAA bonds.
No,
Something wrong with that?
Yeah, well, what you got is just paper. Most economists say that's going to be worthless.
So, what would you suggest?
You got any gold?
Yeah, cufflinks.
Keep a sense of humor about it.
That was a clip, believe it or not. We can't take credit for that. That was one of our customers. They put that on our Facebook page, I believe. Ramon, is that right?
You are correct, sir.
Yes, right? They put it on our Facebook. We've been saving it. And I don't know why I was saving it, but today was the day I wanted to play it for you. And you think about what they say. Well, economists think that your paper assets are going to go to zero. They don't think it. They know it. I mean, if you look at the actual economic theory that all of these economists that talk to you about buying your stocks and your bonds, they already know. The intrinsic value of fiat money is zero. Just a matter of when. And the only thing that's been money, it's been money since, thousands of years, is gold. Right? A currency, a fiat one. Okay? So just to give you perspective, and why it is that I educate you so very much on the importance of the date of August 15th, 1917, one. The day we became a fiat nation. And it's so clear. Right? They set the price of gold on that day to $42. Right? And I told you the story. Remember the story of the three people on the deserted island. And how one person had 2 bottles of water and wanted to sell one of the bottles. And of course, one of the other people, they had $1. She was, that was what that was going to value that bottle of water for. Until the other person found a 20. And all of a sudden, that bottle of water went from $1 to 20. What changed? The water? Gold was $42. Well, actually, in 1933, it was only 20. What changed? Still the same amount of gold. Why is it now $1,230-some? And the answer really is the amount of money that's become available. This is what the central bank does. This is why, even back when old Barney Miller, right? Think about, Barney Miller is one of, when I think about the sitcoms that I grew up with, and I was still younger yet, but Archie Bunker, Barney Miller, right? And my parents liked those. I was more of the Dukes of Hazzard, Love Boat guy. But the whole thing of, oh my Lord, he went nuts. And he bought gold. And you see all the clips. I think, I know our guys in Colorado in the afternoon, they played, and his name escapes me, but you've seen the clips. You know what? Matter of fact, I'll have Jason send the clip to Ramon, and we'll get it on our website tomorrow, of the guy that's out there, and he's trying to get people to, one of them, he has a candy bar and a silver eagle. And nobody wants the silver. Everybody wants the candy bar. Another one, I think the guy's trying to get, I got $25 or an ounce of gold, right? Everybody takes the $25. This is how dumb they've made us. And this is a key thing in how they've been able to get away with it. When you start thinking about what it is that they've really done, and you think about this election that just ended yesterday, and every one of those horrible commercials. She's a liar. He's a liar. Let's talk about border walls and health insurance and this and that. You know why all of these are issues? The answer is simple. Health insurance in the 70s, even in the hyperinflation of the 70s, cost nothing. I think about the invention of Obamacare. Our deductible was $250. I told this story. We had and at the time, we had a $5,000 deductible. And my wife and my 2 kids, it was $250. We're now at $700, and the deductible's now $10,000. We actually have worse coverage because they don't cover a whole bunch of stuff they used to. Had to go to different doctors than we used to. And the price is essentially what? Triple. This is what's happened to everything. I'll just say, we have a local store here. My younger son, they won their I guess I forgot to tell them, we won the football playoff game Friday, got another one this Friday, the quarterfinals. And my son has a shoulder that's been bothering him. That common thing for the end of the football season. And a couple of days a week after practice, he goes to therapy, physical therapy. Which, I don't even want to tell you what that's going to cost. So far, it doesn't cost anything. Between my insurance, whatever my insurance won't pay, the school's supposed to pick up. We'll see. But I go into the grocery store, right? Because I don't need him. He's 15 years old. He doesn't want Dad hanging out while he's getting therapy. So I go into the grocery store, and I'm just walking around, and I'm looking, and I'm decided as I'm getting ready, killing time. Hey, I want a bottle of water. Right? Bottle of water. I don't know why, and we all know it already. This isn't a shocker. A couple of weeks earlier, I was in the store, and they had some, that generic private label water. They had it for 50 cents, and I bought one. Right? 50 cents. I think water's free, but I got to pay 50 cents. And I got annoyed because they didn't have that anymore. And I refused to pay. The cheapest bottle of water I could find was $1.79. It's a bottle of water. It's $1.79. I didn't get it. I'll just tell you, I had some heartburn. It's like that burrito that I ate last week. I knew I shouldn't have done it. And I had to take this little pill, and I was going to have some water, and I just got some saliva and sucked it down. I wasn't going to pay the $1.79 that day. And I think about when I was a kid. We used to walk down or ride our bikes down to the little court. I grew up in a town, Jamesville, New York. Little suburb outside of Syracuse. And, we didn't have, this was back in the day where everything wasn't the same. Our little town had our little town, so we had a little bank. We had one little store on one side of town, another little store on the other side, because we weren't big enough for like a Fry's or a Safeway. We were just a little small town. The big employer, we had a prison there. Not that far away. It's about 10 miles from my house, but that was kind of the employer there, and a rock quarry. That's what it was. And you had a suburb, and people like my dad commuted into the city and back. We used to go down there. A pack of baseball cards. I used to collect baseball cards. And it had the gum in it, Right. Now, they don't even put the gum in it. Not that it was even good gum. The gum was horrible. But it may ruin the card. The card in the back of baseball cards, they're like, it was 14 cents, 15 cents for a pack of baseball cards. A candy bar was 15 cents. I remember when it went to 25. I was mad because I didn't have 25 cents that day. Now, you know what? I don't even know, but I'm making a guess that the candy bar is actually smaller today. Same thing, $1.79 for a Snickers bar. Right? And it's everywhere. It's constant. And you sit there, and eventually prices get to the point of ridiculousness. That show on MTV? You ever watch that show? That's what we're heading for, right? And people will write, they're like, I don't know what these people were thinking. The debt is $22 trillion. I didn't hear one commercial about it. Did you? Of course, in fairness, I couldn't handle the commercials anymore, and I literally would change the channel every time one came on. But I'm positive there wasn't any. It's absurd. We're never paying it. And like I said, all of these economists, Jay Powell, our central banker, they know. This is what fiat money is supposed to do. Remember the 2% inflation target that I tried to educate you on, what that really means. They want to devalue the money. Now, here's the thing. They can't tell you the real devaluation rate. Let me give you an example. Okay, so they're telling us just now, by the way, just recently, we finally got back to the Federal Reserve and the inflation gains that they like. Finally got back to just 2%. It's not even above 2. It's only at 2. And remember, I played that clip from Jay Powell when he talked about, they've got, like unemployment, they got 6 different calculators. Inflation, they got a ton of them as well. They use the cheapest one. But I want to give you a real-life example of how they're lying to us and how much they're really devaluing when we get back.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily commentary continuing the conservative pro-family legacy of Phyllis Schlafly. Now, the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
The thrilling confirmation of Brett M. Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court fulfills the vision of Phyllis Schlafly in her early endorsement of Donald Trump. By trouncing the radical feminists in this high-stake battle for the Supreme Court, President Trump has transformed the Republican Party, just as Phyllis Schlafly wanted. Kavanaugh's 50-48 confirmation by the Senate was also a victory for the rule of law over the rule by a mob. You don't hand matches to an arsonist, Trump declared afterwards, and you don't give power to an angry left-wing mob. Mrs. Ford's accusations against Brett Kavanaugh were worse than being implausible. They were also unworthy of the heightened attention given to them by the liberal media and the 48 Democratic senators who voted against Kavanaugh. Even if Ford's accusations had some basis in fact, they were not serious enough to be considered at such a late date. The Senate demeaned itself by forcing Brett Kavanaugh to explain what he meant in his writings as a 17-year-old, in his personal diary, and in his high school yearbook. By her own account, Mrs. Ford said she attended and drank beer at an unsupervised house party along with older teenage drunken boys. She alleges that at some point she was groped by 2 of the boys whose identities remain unknown, but she admitted that everyone was fully clothed at all times. If such a complaint had been made back then, the police would not have even bothered to pursue it. It would have been such a minor, unprovable infraction that criminal charges would never have been brought. The complete silence by Ford for 29 years afterwards suggests that even if it did happen, it was not particularly significant to her. Most likely, it didn't happen at all. Yet while talking to a therapist nearly 3 decades later, Ford supposedly recovered a memory that could easily exaggerate key details and make mistakes of identity. On the basis of her recovered memory, she tried to bring down Brett Kavanaugh's career while keeping her own identity secret in order to avoid the risk of cross-examination. It was a close call, but Mrs. Ford's uncorroborated accusations were simply not credible to the fair-minded senators. And that's why they voted, and America has Justice Brett M. Kavanaugh.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. As President Trump fulfills his campaign promises, his accomplishments on trade, immigration, the economy, and protecting the unborn should be celebrated, not ignored or diminished. To track these victories, go to phyllisschlafly.com and find out what's next for the Trump presidency at phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening to the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. My wife will tell you. She thinks I'm one of the least observant people. But it's really not true. I'm very observant. And when I got home from my son's physical therapy, I told her about this bottle of water. And she looked at me like, where have you been? It's been, that's what water costs now if you buy, She's like, that's why we go to Costco and buy the big, thing, because it's less. And she goes, let me guess. She knows me so well. She goes, you probably were muttering, because I like to, I get in my head and I think about things in my head, and apparently while I'm doing that, I have a conversation with myself. My lips are moving, and there is, and I'll admit it, right? There's sound actually coming out like it's a mumble. You don't know what I'm saying, but I'm mumbling, and I'm having this in-depth conversation with myself, and I'm sitting there in the bashes, and I need to, pay $1.79 or just swallow this pill, and I'm just so frustrated by what they've done, because everything just costs so darn much. And then they sit there and they tell us that, we just barely got to 2%. I remember the first time I saw a $100 bill. I do. My dad, when I was growing up, he was in this, it was called the Optimist Club. And again, we lived in a small town. And there was, 20 or 30 guys that were in this club. And they raised money for, in the town we lived in, full disclosure, wasn't a wealthy place, right? It was, there was, where we lived in, don't get me wrong, we lived in a really nice area. Okay, we did. But there was, this was a poor town. This was a small suburb that, had a lot of disadvantaged people that were struggling even back then. And they would do these different events to raise money, and they would do things like, and I don't even know all the things they did. My one of the things, and how the times have changed, the parents were very respectful, if you will. They didn't brag about what they did. They didn't tell all of us, me and my brothers, hey, this kid's poor, and this, we're helping out this family. You didn't hear any of that. Right? They paid for the kids to play baseball or football, or they took them to a Syracuse game, whatever it may be. And, we're sitting there, and I'm looking at today, and I'm thinking about this $1.79 bottle of water, probably walking aimlessly around the bashes, talking to myself, and how they're talking about 2% inflation, my backside. And yesterday I saw this article, and I didn't even know if I was gonna bring it up or not bring it up, but here we are. More consumers are shopping online, not just at Amazon, but at brick and mortar retailers too. But getting those package deliveries is going to cost more. Whatever happened, the more you did, the less it cost. FedEx has announced an increase in its shipping rates, saying that on January the 7th, the company is increasing rates between 4.9 to 5.9%. So let's just use, regular math. 5 to 6% per package. Now, the Federal Reserve says inflation's only 2, just barely got to 2. FedEx says, it's really 5 or 6. Right? And of course, who knows, really, it's probably 7 or 8. And I want you to understand what that means. And I'll just use FedEx's number. Your $100 bill this year, 2018, according to FedEx, is now worth about 94 cents. Right? 95, 94 cents. And guess what? Next year, FedEx is going to raise prices between 5 and 6%. and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. When's the last time we heard of a company say, we're going to raise rates by 2%? That should be the rule, right? If the Fed says inflation's only 2%, that's all you can raise. You know how many companies will go out of business? All of them. By the way, the rate changes everything in the U.S. in Canada, the U.S. in Mexico. Oh, not to be outdone, the United States Postal Service wants to increase the price of postage from 50 to 55%. Now, I know I only went to public school, but that's 10%. Again, now I know they don't raise postage rates every year, but the Federal Reserve for like the last 10 years really said there wasn't any inflation. The rate hikes won't affect Amazon this holiday season, right? So just remember that's going to be after the holidays, and I bring it up only for one reason. It's like I said yesterday, it didn't matter. I mean, maybe we're going to get some great sound bites. Now, the Democrats I already saw a headline. We're going to get Trump's taxes, and all that. I mean, come on. Nobody cares. Yes, he's got very good tax accountants. Yeah, he's rich. We should be upset if they do get a hold of his taxes and they found out, man, he paid way more than he should have, then we probably got the wrong guy in there. But I again, it didn't matter. They're devaluing the currency. They lie about it. And now think about this. We went 205 years and only had $400 billion of debt, most of which came from World War II. Now we've got $22 trillion. You tell me how it's going to end. 800-951-0592. Here's what we got today. We've got there's 4. We were selling those 1986 proof gold eagles. Those are gone. We have 4 other date proof gold eagles, and the other dates they're all 87, 88, 89, 90, something like that. They're not at all. I only got 4 of them. Don't quote me on the exact date, okay? How about that? But they're all older, right? Nothing recent, nothing this millennium. Because it's either 90 or 91. I think there's an 89. I don't know. But there's only 4 of them. And I'll do the same deal as we did. Yeah, $1,300. Again, the 86s are gone. Gold's $1,230, $70 over spot on a proof. Yeah, I don't have to tell you that. I did that yesterday. It's an incredible deal, but there's only 4. And then the 10th ounce. We still got about 100 10th ounce. Remember, we sold those yesterday as well. 1 through 19 at $145, 20 or more at $143. So if you buy 20 or more, you're saving $6 a 10th ounce. So you think about it, that's a huge savings. 800-951-0592. And again, think about it. 205 years, $400 billion, over half of which was accumulated after World War II. Matter of fact, World War II, and it really coincides with the central bank and how it's amazing how corrupt we've allowed them to be and how smart they are. They're so smart. You have to understand, right? We're dealing with incredibly intelligent people. The reason why they wanted fiat money is they wanted to charge interest. I mean, that's what they wanted. They wanted to enrich themselves. Right? And when you think about the middle class, America, people, we brag. But this was, what the problem with all the other countries were? They didn't have a middle class like America. Now, the one group that's losing the most ground, the middle class. What's so funny is about 30% of the middle class, if you ask them, will tell you they're middle class, aren't. They just don't know it, right? Or they don't want to admit it. And it's because of the amount of money. Go back to the island in the water. It's going to be $1 until someone found a 20. Right? That pack of baseball cards that was 15 cents with the gum. Gum's gone. Now they lock up baseball cards. Right? I didn't even buy them. I mean, my kids don't collect them. I don't buy them. They lock them up at the stores because they're a fortune. They're $4 or $5. And you sit there and you start to think about World War II was the first war we didn't pay the debt back. Civil War, we paid it back. I mean, didn't get to zero, but right near it. War of 1812, same thing. Matter of fact, we used to run budget surpluses all the time. You never hear anybody talk about it. We just ran officially $779 billion. The real number, we ran a deficit of $1.4 trillion. There's no other way around it. $1.4 trillion. And people don't remember. We used to run budget surpluses. During the Great Depression, we ran budget surpluses. Yeah, it's true. World War I. Paid it back. I don't even know what the debt was during the Depression. It was so small. It wasn't even $100 billion. And then World War II happened. Now, we did run surpluses after World War II. Matter of fact, over the next, say, 10 or 15 years after World War II ended, we ran just as many surpluses as we did deficits, but we didn't pay back the debt. That was the first time. Of course, what happened? No, we had central bankers now. We don't need to pay it back. It's okay, Yeah, we want things to appear better than what they are. Right? Well, really, what they wanted to do was, hey, wait, we pay it back, we're going to make less money. We don't want that. Let's spend it. And then 1971, when they closed the gold window, and now think about it. Now we got a debt of $22 trillion. And by the way, I don't even know that we'll ever add less than $1 trillion ever again until the currency ends. And this is what happens to all fiat currencies. They end. We used to think, well, we'll go to the Amero with the Canadians and the Mexicans. No, we're not. Going to be even worse than that. That would have actually been okay. We used to tell stories about if you had 10,000 Federal Reserve notes, you'll turn them in and you'll get 1,000 Ameros. Right? And you're like, nobody liked that. This is even more diabolical. Because now they'll just say, we just turned it into electronic credit. You still got 10,000. It's going to be okay. It's going to be a very, very different world. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. And I've said it all the time. It doesn't matter what gold does today, tomorrow, next week, last week. when we talk about what it is that we're doing. No, when I started, gold's like $300. Don't you wish you could go back to 2004, 2003, 2004 and buy all the gold, sell every stock you ever had, and put it all into gold? You'd be, even today, and obviously if you sold nothing, but even today, you're killing it. The debt is doing things the world's never seen. Gold's up 3,000% from 1971. 30 times. We're going to add $22 trillion, and actually be a little more, but just for dramatic effect. We're going to add another $22 trillion plus to this deficit in the next 10 years. $30 times what gold is today is like $36,000 for an ounce of gold. And as you all know, we've seen it, when it really hits the fan, you can't get it. Right? Think about when silver was climbing to 50. You couldn't get it. Think about when gold was getting to 1,900, right? You wanted a 20, it was like $2,400. Take the time, put it away now. It's easy math. Right? We're actually going faster than we've ever gone before. Talking about the devaluation, talking about what real inflation is. Remember what inflation is just robbing you of your pocketbook. FedEx already told you. Your $100 this year is only worth $94 next year. You think about, at that pace, in about 16 years, it's not worth anything. There you go. 800-951-0592. I still got the 4. Are you kidding me? I got 4 proof gold eagles. They're $1,300. I know there's only 4. Take them. And I know, hey, $1,300. I don't mean to make fun. That's a lot of money. I get it. So I'm putting 10th ounce in. Right? 10th ounce gold eagles 1 through 19 at 145. 20 or more at 143. Just so you know, when you call in for the Proof Gold Eagle, you can't pick the date because I don't even know it. I know they're early. I don't know what 4 we exactly have. You'll get an early one. Promise you that. At 800-951-0592. Gold's up $3. The Dow's up 300 points. Somehow, I guess this was a win. I know that's how the president. Hey, we won. We lost, but we won. I guess they're happy about the what happened in Congress, but remember they can't pass any bills without the House. And all I know is it's going to be ridiculous, and it's going to really be aggravating what these Democrats are going to do in the House. But nonetheless, again, none of that really matters. Get your assets protected because you know what's coming. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Everybody have a great rest of your day if you can. I'll be back tomorrow.